MMA stuff. Nick Diaz is back, and I know a lot of people are very happy about that. Who's he fighting? Is there any talk of that? Is it Jorge Masvidal? Is that finalized, Lewis? Do we know?
That's not officially finalized. I guess Dana White and the UFC have not confirmed this. This is, I guess, maybe it was Brett Okamoto via Dana White said that this is the fight. Nick Diaz is coming back after a 4-year layoff, I think something like that. And this is a tall task in Jorge Masvidal. Look, we are not fans of Jorge Masvidal on the show. We've never shied away from not being fans of his. But I will tell you right now, the same thing I said for Nate Diaz when we talked about the potential matchup there. I think it's a tough matchup after a long layoff. 4 years is a very, very, very long time off. And I know we can name a few times where guys have looked great after that long of a layoff, but I think it's more often than not, ring rust proves to be a real thing.
Well, it's not so much the fact that we're not a fan of Jorge Masvidal. It's more to do with the fact that the guy's just an asshole. You know what I mean? He's a very, very low-class individual. He's a cocksucker. What do you want me to tell you? The guy's an absolute piece of shit. I don't like the way he carries himself. He doesn't conduct himself with any ounce, any iota of class. You know, he talks about being, I'm a rough kid. I'm a street fighter. Yeah, and you look like one, and you act like one, and you sound like one. And you do a disservice to everybody from your background. You know, he really does. He's a piece of whatever. If he was on fire, I wouldn't give him the steam off my piss. But that said, you can't deny the guy's fighting ability. You know, he does have legitimate skills. He's a good fighter. I mean, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, I think that was the last time he was in action, if I'm not mistaken. I think so. But anyway, he gave, you know, obviously he lost that fight to Wonderboy. But Wonderboy's a tough guy. He's a tough customer. Masvidal's tough, you know, personal feelings aside, credit where credit's due in the fight world. He's good. So regarding Nick Diaz, you got to give Nick respect there. That's a tough fight. It's nice to see Nick Diaz back. I follow him on Instagram. I almost had to unfollow Nick Diaz.
Why?
Because it was just, you know, every morning you get out of bed, I come downstairs, I sit on the couch, I have my coffee, and I have to watch Nick Diaz, you know, hanging out in nightclubs with a bunch of hot chicks, enjoying himself. And it was just, his liver must be in a bad way, because that's all it seemed to be constantly.
If Michael Bisping is telling you that your liver must be in a bad way, your liver must be in a fucking bad way. I get it though. He's living the life. This is the truth, and you can admit this, Michael Bisping. He's living the life.
No.
We all want to live.
We all want to live that life. What I was going. No, we don't want to talk over each other as well, because my mic digitizes. What I was saying was, it's just the same thing every day. You know, which, by the way, it looks like he's having a great time. I wasn't hating on that. But you know, when you get out of bed and you look at people's Instagram stories, it's just the same thing. It's like, oh, God, swipe past. So don't get me wrong, as I say, it looks like he's having a great time. But when there's no variation in the Instagram posts, I've seen it before. And okay, fair enough, I'm a little guilty of that. I do like to do a little story when I'm on my runs, or a little My Protein or whatever, but you got to do it. But yeah, anyway, he's back, 4 years. Is that confirmed, you say? Dana said it's almost done?
No, it's not officially confirmed. This is rumored, but it's Brett Okamoto said Dana White said this. So, yeah, I mean, I'm super excited about it, but, you know, I don't mind me. I like Nick Diaz. I've always liked Nick. I'm a huge Nick Diaz fan, always have been. And he's pretty entertaining on Instagram. Every once in a while, just tune into his stories, just doing nunchucks, smoking weed with hot chicks at the pool. God bless his soul, you know? But it's kind of weird, because I feel like Masvidal isn't necessarily a really high profile fight. And I feel like Nick Diaz, you know, it seems like he's only taking those big, huge money fights. It was the only thing that was going to entice him. So my theory is the UFC probably just said, fuck it, dude. We know what Nick Diaz is going to do in terms of a draw. We know that one side of the coin, as long as one is really, really strong, it's going to be a huge pay-per-view. And then you entice Nick Diaz to come back, he gets a big win, and you set up him versus Conor or him versus whoever down the line. But just getting him out of his fucking hibernation and out of his cave, it seems like it was a tall task. I'm assuming they're paying him a boat shit ton of money.
I have no idea. I'm assuming, knowing the Diaz's know their worth, you know, yeah, for sure. I'm assuming they'll be getting paid well. A boat shit ton of money, I don't know about that, you know. Probably not what his brother got. But Masvidal's a tough fight, you know. So if what you're suggesting is just to get him, you know, back in the groove, get him back on the show, fight, and then get a win and set up a big fight, honestly, Masvidal's not the right opponent to do that. As I said, I made my feelings about him personally clear at the start, but he's a legitimate fighter. You know, yeah, of course, on the ground, Diaz is a proper martial artist and is very, very good on the ground, good off his back, excellent jiu-jitsu in general, and a ton of experience. But on the feet, Masvidal can hang with Diaz, I would say. Hey, nothing would please me more than to say he can't hang, okay? But he can. He's a tough guy. So it isn't a give me. And as you say, with the 4 years away, 4 years is a long time. And, of course, GSP came back after 4 years, but they're very different people. GSP is the type of guy that looks after himself, that was doing backflips and cartwheels and protein shakes the whole time, as we all know. Diaz, as you said, hanging out in Vegas, living his best life, to use a term that the kids use on Instagram these days. But he's also a natural fighter. So that's the difference. So some people, just to contradict myself completely, some people need a training camp, or they need the experience, or they need a sports psychologist. Nick Diaz is a real fighter, and he'll probably step up and fight at a moment's notice, a minute's notice, let alone a few months.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, it's kind of hard to pick the fight. I would obviously love to pick Nick Diaz. I always pick the Diaz brothers. It's very difficult for me to pick against them. But I almost see they're almost similar type of fighters to a certain degree. They're both like street fighter, tough kids who came from like tough background. Diaz has a jiu-jitsu background, but the reality is they're going to stand and bang. Nick Diaz is not taking Jorge Masvidal down. Jorge Masvidal is more athletic, probably has substantially better wrestling. It's going to end up being a boxing match. And dude, look, Nick Diaz fucking outboxes people he's not supposed to outbox, and it surprises me every time. But I'm excited.
Masvidal has no wrestling whatsoever. No wrestling whatsoever.
Neither does Nick.
So yeah, but he's probably got more than goddamn Masvidal. Masvidal is not going to out-wrestle Diaz. If anything, it's the other way around. But Diaz, I've said this before, when he fought Anderson Silva, I was there working for Fox. I was in the arena in Las Vegas. And when he fought Anderson Silva, and in that first round, he just led on the floor. He led on the floor and pretended he was taking a nap or whatever. That was the greatest thing I've seen anybody do in a mixed martial arts fight. You're against Anderson Silva, and this was a good few years ago when he was still in his prime. And, Anderson fucks about. He likes to disrespect his opponent. So Diaz thought, I'll give you a taste of your own medicine. And when he led on the floor and doing all that shenanigans, we'll call them, I just thought, this guy's great. This guy, he had me as a lifelong fan right then and there.